guys, welcome back. Thanks for joining me today. I'm actually going to talk about how to become a resilient parent in these times. So resilience really means not just that generic definition of being able to bounce back when something happens. I like to kind of think of it as that ability to go through those adversities, those tough times, things that happen because they're going to happen in life. There's no avoiding it. But really being able to kind of sit in that difficult pit sometimes and think, oh, that really sucks. It's really hard. I'm feeling this way or that way. All right, let's see, how can I move forward? How can I kind of bounce forward into, the next phase, or into tomorrow, or into this afternoon, or whatever you have to do. So it is really about not being that kind of person who wants to be happy and peachy all the time, because that's just not even realistic. It's really kind of that mindset of, okay, tough things happen, things go wrong, stuff will happen that I don't expect or don't plan for. That's just going to happen. That's okay. That's life. And I can navigate around it, and I can be resilient, and I can bounce forward into whatever else is coming and move on from this. So I want to talk to you guys about a few really key strategies that you can use to become a resilient parent, because we know our kids are always throwing stuff at us, and that's just life, and we can't control them. We can only control ourselves and how we react and how we respond. So let's jump into it. For those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Steph Pinto, and I'm an emotional intelligence coach. And I did work with kids and families for 10 years as a speech pathologist. So I do have that background of understanding communication and language, but also I found that I was doing a lot of work around social and emotional skills, and also managing tricky behaviors in families as well. So I'm trained in positive behavior support, and I'm also trained in a resilience approach as well. So that stuff gives me a really good background into it's like a holistic approach that I take to creating emotionally intelligent families and resilient parents. So I've got my notes here. So I'm going to read out a couple of the things that really create or describe a resilient parent. So one of them is that they know how to cope in spite of setbacks, and they know strategies for themselves to do in order to bounce forward. Also, they're really able and willing to overcome these obstacles. And so it's having that optimistic kind of mindset of, okay, this has happened, but I know I can get through it. I believe I will be able to make it to the other side, and things will be okay again. So it's really that optimistic rather than pessimistic mindset. Something else is that they're really flexible and adaptable. So that is really important, because, as I said, things will go wrong and stuff is thrown at you in life, and you have to be flexible and adaptable and kind of have that growth mindset into thinking, all right, how can I take this situation or these circumstances and use it to my advantage and kind of move forward. And obviously the last one is kind of seeing those setbacks as temporary and not permanent, not everlasting, not just happening to you and woe is me, that kind of stuff. So it's really seeing that these things, yes, they're going to happen. They happen to everyone. They're not everlasting. They're just temporary, and that you can do stuff to move forward. So the people who don't have this resilient kind of mindset are the people who think these problems and adversity are permanent and they're everlasting and they're so difficult, and they are like just specific to them, like, no, this always happens to me, no one else goes through this stuff. Like, that stuff's not really true. So you have to kind of challenge those thoughts. And also they have a tendency to dwell in the past and kind of feel stuck in their problems. So you don't want to be like that, because that keeps you stuck in the things that are going wrong and not able to see that silver lining or what you could make out of the situation. So here are my tips on how to become a resilient parent. First one is you've got to really practice just general healthy living strategies, which is eating, nourishing your body, eating right, because nourishing your body also fuels your brain. It's also having healthy sleep habits as well, because that impacts our emotional state. So really those general foundation levels, you have to have that stuff as good as possible. to start off with. So the next one is to challenge your self-talk. So your self-talk is that like internal mental chatter that's just running through your head. And often it's quite negative and quite toxic. And we all have that little inner voice, and quite often it slips into that negative state of like, oh, of course this happened, no wonder this went wrong, or you'll never be able to do it, it's so hard. So it's really negative, and it can kind of spiral or snowball if you don't keep it in check. So raise your awareness of your inner critic and learn how to reframe those thoughts. So the next one is to see those things that go wrong, setbacks and stuff, as temporary. So train yourself to think, okay, here's another one, it's popped up again, that's okay, it's not going to last. Tomorrow is a new day. I know that I can get through this by using some strategies or leaning on someone and asking for help. So start to see those things that happen in life as temporary, not permanent and not everlasting, and really that mindset of, okay, here's another one, it's okay, I've been through them heaps before, I know how to solve problems, I can think on my feet, I can ask someone for help, or do something like that. So see them as temporary, that they come and go, because they do, and it's a really healthy way to see problems. And the last one is to ask for support and find support from other people in your life if you need it. So if you have a partner or a spouse, ask them. Sometimes I have to lean on my husband and say, oh my gosh, this thing happened, I don't know how to get through it, I'm really upset about it. It's okay not to always be able to deal with your problems on your own. No one does. And even with our kids, we are always teaching them how to regulate their emotions and their behavior. They have to lean on us too, and us as adults, we have to be able to vent to our friends or journal it out or seek support from other people. So that's another really powerful tip in having that resilient mindset of, I know who I can go to for help if I need to. It might be a friend or a family member, whoever is helpful for you. So I want to go through a couple of things that really hinder a resilient mindset. And these are those thought patterns that are quite negative and toxic, and they can stop you from having that resilient, positive, optimistic mindset. So one of them is when we do filtering. This is like a thinking habit, and it's called filtering. And what filtering is when something happens, something that you don't expect or something that goes wrong, and when you think about it, you're in that emotional state of, oh my gosh, this thing just failed, I can't believe it, my work project, or my kids have just refused the dinner that I've made for them. Filtering is when you filter out all the positives of the situation, or all the times that the thing that you're trying or the project you're working on has gone right and has worked. You filter all those out and you focus in on the really negative, like this one time that your kids refused this dinner, or that the project failed or something. So it's filtering out the good and just focusing on the negative. So that is number one. It's not real. It's not realistic. So you have to be aware that sometimes we have that filtering, like, oh, you never thank me when I buy you a gift. Well, actually, there are many other times that this person has said thank you, but you've just done that filtering. So be aware of that one. Another one is that polarized thinking. So that's thinking in really black and white, all or nothing, positive or negative terms. And it's kind of missing the gray areas, which is, again, it's not realistic. It's like using the language, oh, you always do this, or you never do that for me, or this always fails, and every single time it happens to me. So it's that really strong language. And again, you have to challenge it because it's not really accurate, and it's not real, and it's definitely not helping your mindset. The next one is having those control fallacies. So the feelings that you need to control situations or people. And we all have those. We, particularly as parents, we want to control our kids. And sometimes we want to control situations around us and what's going on, control bedtime, control dinner, control what our kids do and say. So we have to let go of some of those control thoughts that we have, because they do not serve us, definitely. And I think one of the last ones really is just that catastrophizing. So really feeling like You have those thoughts of, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. Traffic was a nightmare today. This person is such a pain in the butt. Like, it's that language and those thinking habits of making it a catastrophe, over exaggerating, really bigger than it is. So again, you have to raise your awareness of when you do that, and also start to reframe or challenge those thoughts. Like, are your kids actual terrors? Because if you're telling yourself that, oh my God, my kids are a terror, or they are such little gremlins, when you use that language, you're actually subconsciously talking to your own brain, and it's hearing the words, and you start to really believe, what you're saying. So when you say, oh wow, my kid was a bit tricky today, but usually they're angels. Like, that's a big difference to saying, they're all the time, they are little poops, and it's just, they are making me tear my hair out, that kind of language. So be aware of that too. So if you are aware of those behaviors and those thinking habits, and you flip them and challenge them, notice when they come up, that first step is awareness. So go from there and then decide, okay, I'm going to challenge these thoughts, because that will get you on the road to becoming a resilient parent, which is really, really good. So if you guys have liked this video, please do like it and subscribe so you don't miss any more of my videos. And also, don't forget, I'm over on Facebook. I have a Facebook group that I run, and it's called Let's Raise Emotionally Intelligent Kids. And every day I post tips and strategies and info and stuff for parents about emotional intelligence. So head over there and join me as well. And usually I have running a workshop and a parenting group coaching program. So feel free to contact me about that as well. My website is stephaniepinto.com. Very easy to remember. And I hope to see you there. All right, thanks guys.